So if you've got a client who lives in, say, a fairly cramped city apartment, and you want to adjust the height of their table so that they stop spilling hot drinks on themselves, then you can very easily use a 3D printer to print little blocks to support the table. You're just going to need to take two key measurements. So first, we're going to make the table level. 2 centimeters. All right, so 3.2 centimeters from the lowest point of the leg to the ground. And the other measurement that we're going to have to take is how wide the legs of the table are, because you see there's kind of an irregular shape going on here. So we're going to have to print, we can actually print in exactly the shape of this, but it's going to be hard to figure out what the arc is. So it might just be easier to print a box and approximate it. All right, so, surprise appearance by Mr. Farrow. And so we've got, hello Farrow, okay. 2.4 by 2.2, so let's just leave it lots of extra room and make it an even 2.5 square. And now we're going to go and design that on AutoCAD. You're in Fusion 360 and you need to start working on your blocks to support your table. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on Create Sketch. And then you're going to click on a given plane. It just has things in the XYZ plane right now. And what you'll do is do a 2-point rectangle. Just make it any size right now. This is going to be the base going up. So let's say that you have, I'll grab this. So let's say that you've got something like this. You would start by drawing a circle and then extending that circle up to create a cylinder. We're going to do that with a square, and then we're going to make a little indentation for the table leg to rest into. So as you see on here, we've got a little square. It probably isn't anywhere near what we're looking for dimensions-wise, so we're going to hit D. And then we can click on the side, pull it out. Okay, so this is in millimeters. So it's 51 millimeters, which is a little bit too big for what we're going for right now. We want something that can hold an indentation that's 2.5 by 2.5 millimeters and still have a bit of a rim around it. So I think that we should go for, let's go for a 4 by 4. So we're going to put 40 millimeters because that's 4 centimeters. Enter. And then we're going to make this also be 4 centimeters. 40. Awesome. Now we're going to finish the sketch and we're going to click the extrude button. So we click on that. And this little extrude thing shows up. So we're only going one side. We're going by distance. You can also extrude your profile plane and stuff, but for creating a box, you don't need to worry about that. And our measurement for the lowest point of the leg of the table to the ground in order to make the table level was, let me check my note, 3.2. So this is what has to be exact. So we're going to make this be extruded at a distance of 32 millimeters, 30 millimeters. Okay. And enter. Now we've got a box and we just need to make the little indentation in the box. So we go back to create sketch. We're going to select a plane to create our sketch on. So we're going to select offset. And we're going to select the outer area of that. And we're going to do negative because we don't want it to be bigger than the square. We want it to be inset into the square so that the little legs can be inside it. And we know that the square is 4 by 4. And we need the little indent to be 2.5 by 2.5. I have to keep checking my notes. So we're just going to have it be offset by half of the difference between 4 and 2.5, which, if I remember my elementary school math correctly, is 1.5 divided by 2, 0.75. So 0.75 of a millimeter offset. Well, 0.75 centimeter offset. So we're going to need to do 7.5 millimeters of offset. Telling you, you need elementary school math in later life. 7.5. And see how when it's positive, it goes outside the square? So we're going to have to make it negative. There we go. Perfect. And then all we do is we finish our sketch. We select extrude again, and we're going to tell it to go a negative distance down. And I think a good distance, so we have, it's 3.2. Just to be sure, I think we should maybe go about 1.5 centimeters down. And that'll be good because then we'll have less to infill. Actually, no. We should do about a half a centimeter because otherwise we're going to have to carve a slot for the slope part of the legs to go down into it. You might have to do a few iterations of this if, like me, you don't think of all the possible consequences when you first measured. So we're going to go negative 5 millimeters. And it already says that it's going to cut, so that's great. And we press cut. All right, we've got our Fusion 360 thing for propping up our table. And the easiest way to export this is to say save as STL. Great. And let's see, format binary, refinement medium. Yeah, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff when you're making something simple like this. So you just press OK. And let's call this table adjuster. Now we're in Prusa Slicer, which is the slicing software that goes with my 3D printer that I have in my home to work with. Obviously, if you're just making a block with an indent and you have a carpentry shop or a machine shop or something like that, then that's definitely better to go with. But I live in an apartment in a city, so I don't have a machine shop easily on hand, and this printer is the closest thing that I can get to it. And I'm sure you'll have clients in situations like that. And there it is. It shows up on the print bed. And it's good to be printing it with the concave face up because that means that we're not going to have to print with any supports. The one thing that you probably are going to want to change in this print, so let's see, what were we using? Prusa PLA? No, we're using generic PLA. We're using the Amazon Basics PLA. And so I let it know that. We're going to go into advanced to see if there's anything else that we really need to do. No. So the main thing you're going to want to do is to change the infill because this is going to be supporting the weight of a fairly heavy table with iron legs, and it's also going to be supporting the weight of, like, let's say you want to set down your cooking pot or something on the table. You want you don't want to compress the plastic. So you're going to want to set the infill to more than 15%. The infill is basically how much it fills in the little cells that it makes in order to print. So infill, I think a good infill for this project would be 60. I might be going a little bit overboard. Good. So that's a good infill. And we're also going to want to print 2 of these because we're going to need it for both table legs. So the way that you print 2 of something, add instance. You do the little plus sign, and the little plus sign just lets you add it. And it's good to arrange because it'll arrange them in the optimal layout. So plus sign, and then arrange. All right. You got your little table adjusters. They've both got infill 60%, and now we can press slice now. So that'll tell us if we have any problems. Okay, doesn't look like we have any problems. The red is normal. We're going to go through each layer because it lays down the plastic in layers. That looks all right. Yeah, so after a while it disappears and then it's just the kind of thickened plastic. And you'll see, I'll take it to around here and change the infill and rerun it. So let's say if we did have the infill at 15, you'll see that it looks a lot more spongy. Oh, the only problem is this is going to take 11 hours to print. So we're definitely going to be changing the infill. Let's try maybe a 40% infill. Oops. And then we're going to press slice now. Okay. See how it looks a bit spongier? And we're going to scroll our way on down. There we go. Okay, so now it's going to take 7 hours. So the printer is in my room, so we're going to have to print it during the day. If it's 11 hours, it usually runs into nighttime. And we're going to press export G-code, and tomorrow we're going to run this print.
Yep, it's recording now.
So let's say that I'm sitting here and I'm sipping the coffee in a nice insulated mug, and I decide to set it down on this extremely slanted table. Now I'm not paying attention, so I'm going to put it down and it's going to slop all over the sides, right? Same with if I'm having a glass of wine. I'm going to put it down on the table without looking, and it's going to slop all over everywhere. Now, if you put it down carefully, it's going to stay in place, but a lot of our clients aren't going to have that kind of precision control. So we're going to use the blocks that we made earlier to level this table out. So let's take these blocks, and we're going to lift up the table. Oh, a little bit of water on them. And we're going to install them at the height that we measured before. So now the table's level. You can also just kick the mug over. You set down your cup. Boom. Set down your mug. Boom. No flinging off to the side. And you did that with just a simple print job on your 3D printer. No need for access to a machine shop. You saw how small the device is. You can set it up in a corner of your office. All right, so that's how 3D printing works.